Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
This is Science for Humans with Dr. Jeff Galini.
Boy, oh boy, how fast. And I got to tell you something. I feel the same way in the gym, too. It's amazing.
I thought you had me some new music. I was like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah. No. Welcome back. It's been a week off. How are you, Dr. Jeff?
I'm doing well, and sounds like your trip was good.
It was wonderful. And we're going to talk about it on Casual Friday. I don't want to waste any time here today with this discussion, but Alaska was amazing. Amazing. It really was.
I'll listen to it on Friday.
Before we get on to the discussion at hand, I also want to say we had what I would think is an overwhelming response to the VitaDrive offer.
We did. I would probably say over, 100, 150 people. Sorry we only had 48, but, what we did, Carl, is we sent everybody a free gift just for listening to the show. So I think most people were excited to at least get something,
Yeah, that was very, very cool of you guys. I know that for a fact, and you guys are very cool that way. All right, so we've kind of touched on creatine in the past through discussion about creatinine. We've also talked about touched on creatine in some Casual Friday episodes about crealkaline. But every now and again, this pesky little study shows up. It was recently posted in the International Society for Sports Nutrition webpage, which has a lot of followers, saying that crealkaline is ineffective, useless, blah, blah, blah. And I wanted to do this show specifically. I really did, because I hate when there's unfairness in the world. I'm just that way. And keep in mind, I'm not liberal-minded, but I hate to see unfairness in the world. And quite frankly, it's unfair, the propagation of misinformation to jump on a product that works very well. So let's talk about creatine in general, right? What were the problems with creatine back in the day when you really first you introduced it to the market?
Absolutely. I mean, I was the first one to bring it to the market back in the around 92. And that was right after, I believe it was Dr. Kuber. He released a study that was published in the USA that got everybody excited about it. Was talking about Olympic athletes kind of using this under the table. And the first company, which was Cal Farm, called me, their owner, and that's kind of how the creatine thing started. But, back in the 1800s when it was discovered, everybody knew that when you synthesized it, there was a huge flaw, is that creatine is not stable in an aqueous solution, in water, in your stomach, in fruit juice, and protein powders. It converts to creatinine. No mysteries. That is, a fact. It's been published, but it's kind of funny, when I first started talking about that, back in the, 2001, people were telling me I was crazy. Creatinine's good for you.
Well, let me remind everybody of something. There was a liquid creatine that came in a beautiful cherry red color, sold at GNC and health food stores around the country, that claimed that you only needed a couple drops under your tongue. Well, when they took it off the shelf and tested it, it was 100% creatinine. It had converted in the liquid.
Yep, and that was the serum. And,
yes,
they sold millions, But that's exactly right. So, you never saw creatine in a liquid drink or anything because everybody knew, that it was stable. But that's kind of how the whole thing started. I was just messing around in the lab one day and decided to actually activate all these creatine products to see what would happen when I mixed them with, how we were telling people to mix, and was finding this instantaneously conversion from creatine to creatinine. Now, keep in mind, creatinine is a bile waste. That's how they measure how well your kidneys are working, is by your creatinine excretion. So that's a normal process. But you don't want to be taking in, something that's a poison that's toxic. So when I saw this, I about freaked out, thought my instrumentation wasn't working. So I sent it off to one of my friends at a lab. And, he validated what we were finding, and that was kind of the start of discovering.
Now, let's be clear about something here. Let's put this in the proper light. You are making bundles of money on creatine, and all of a sudden you find out, holy crap, when you put it in liquid, it changes to something else, depending on how long. I mean, there were guys back in the day putting in their shaker bottles and letting it sit for an hour before they drank it. Some people were drinking it immediately. The longer you let it sit, the more of it converted to creatinine. So you're thinking to yourself, holy mackerel, I'm selling a supplement that's going bad when it's used.
I was freaking out. I mean, I now know something, but what am I going to do about it? So I thought, well, first of all, I got to see if I can fix this problem. And that's why I went into the lab. Which, by the way,
is something that you love to do. People don't know this about you, but Dr. Jeff loves to have problems because he loves to fix them in the lab. So go ahead. I'm sorry. I just digressed.
And that's about any good science. It's about fixing a problem, or you just flat out create something that, no one has ever seen, some new species or something, but mostly we're fixing problems. And I noticed that the lower the pH, because I had activated creatine in fruit juice and water, and I noticed that the fruit juices converted quicker. So I started my study going from neutral down to a very low pH, and I found that the lower the pH, the quicker that conversion to creatinine. So, of course, my brain says, well, I wonder what happens if I go up the scale and I start to alkalize it. Well, when I got to 14, pH 14, I got that conversion to stop. Now I knew I had something that if I could develop a way to make a creatine that would be buffered and that somebody could actually drink, I think I have maybe something patentable. So now I'm really in a dilemma because I'm selling creatine. I now know that there's a better way of doing it, and I had to wait from the late 90s all the way till 2001 when my patent became pending before I could say, you know what, I'm no longer selling regular creatine monohydrate, effervescent creatine. I'm only selling Crealkaline, and here is why. And April 2001 was when I first released it at the Anaheim Natural Product Expo show.
Now, let's be clear about something else here. You're not saying necessarily that creatine in and of itself doesn't work. There are several variables here, how quickly you drink it, what you mix it with, and quite frankly, the bolus loads that people take, 5 and 10 grams at a time. Sure, there's probably 3 or 4 grams still intact creatine make into the body. But what you've said is, look, why are we taking all of this creatinine with our creatine, number one, if there's a more efficient way to deliver a more elegant style of creatine that the dose can be lower and be just effective, right?
Absolutely. I mean, back in the 90s, nobody knew what I knew. Everyone had been trying to stabilize creatine, so the scientists knew that it wasn't stable. No one accomplished it. Then, again, we didn't know as much as we know now. Creatine monohydrate, when we're talking creatine, we're talking about creatine monohydrate. So let's clear the record. It is the most researched item of any singular item. Crealkaline is the most researched singular form that anyone has ever done. So since that day, 2015, we fast forward. Yes, we've learned a whole lot about this conversion. So I've never said that creatine monohydrate doesn't work. I'm saying creatine monohydrate is like a VHS. It was great for the time, but it had a flaw. Blu-ray fixed that flaw.
Yeah, I like
and that's what Crealkaline is. All we did was fix that flaw. We stabilized it so it doesn't convert. Over the years, people have said, well, geez, I still get results from creatine. Why is that? Well, because you're still going to absorb creatine depending on how quick you drink that. Like you said, are you going to mix it, slam it down?
And what you mix it with also plays a role. If you're mixing with protein powder and other stuff, you have you may change the pH and it may degrade very quickly.
What's in your stomach, how quickly it's going to pass through your stomach. So, with the amount of creatine monohydrate that people take, absolutely, it's going to work and you're going to get some in there. What I'm saying is, what about this byproduct that you now are ingesting creatinine? A published book 10 years ago now already, The Dangers of Creatinine, again, it's nothing new. That could cause cancer. It can cause death. It causes all of the minimal side effects that we didn't like from creatine, which was, bloating, cramping, diarrhea, all those things that people would try it and then they didn't like it.
Well, what about the fact that creatinine is what what is the actual metabolite of muscle breaking down that causes rhabdomyolysis, which clogs up the kidneys. So why would you want to take 5 grams of something where 3 grams is actually going to clog up your kidneys and the other 2 grams is going to be used for the purpose that you're seeking?
And that's what Dr. Jeff was yelling and preaching. And, again, when it first came out, people were like, quit. This is a fad. It's not going to last. No, this is technology. Unfortunately, some people out there just can't move on. They want to keep playing their old VHSs, their old 8-track tapes.
In fact, and I know I'm rushing you through this, but there's reasons for that. In fact, recently a study resurfaced. And it comes up every now and again, and it's published as valid research. And this one on the ISSN website, which there's a lot of people there who claim to be very credible scientists, that particular study was challenged by you and your group. And in fact, you won a $9 million judgment against that author because he lied about the research, right?
Yeah, the ISN developed, and, there are some reputable scientists. The problem is those are the group of guys that don't like me and they don't like crealkaline. They are experts and they know everything about creatine. God bless them. But June 9th, Mark Talon from CR Technologies published a poster board on ISSN that said crealkaline doesn't work. Creatine works better. I challenged that. ISSN backed down and said, we never actually saw the research. All we got was this poster board. And I'm like, well, how can you publish a poster board without having research? So I then went to Mark Talon, CR Technologies, wouldn't give it to us, proprietary. So I sued him. And absolutely, we won a $9 million judgment because that research was false. What you're talking about is a few years ago, they now are claiming that they did this study at Texas A&M. I went through the same process. Let me have the research. We can. It's proprietary. What do you mean? You can't put a poster board out and make it public record and then tell people that we can't give you the actual research?
Yeah, what happened to peer reviewed? Who's reviewing it?
Well, exactly. I mean, no IRB numbers, no peer review other than their little group. This is where biased. But the interesting thing about this study is it was backed by Creapure, Allschems, which is a competitor of ours.
Right.
So that's like me doing a study on Creapure that I pay for and I publish my results.
Yeah, but you don't show anybody the full text. You just put a poster board out.
No, I'm only going to show you my summary. The rest is secret. So we ended up going to the Attorney General in Texas because Allschems tried to block this from getting the research, and we won. Allschem turns around and sues the state of Texas to block the Attorney General from giving me the research. Now, what's up with that?
I mean, if the research is legit, let people see it. Why not just let people see it?
Thousands of people do legitimate research, and you want credibility. You want people to read what you've found. That's the whole idea about getting something published, not developing poster boards, which I do poster boards all the time. Those are designed to go to a conference, have a summary, and talk about it. But guess what? I've got the full paper text. Anybody can have it. You can go online. You can find every study. There are no secrets to studies or proprietary information that we can't give out. No, we don't put the subject names in any of the studies. So there's nothing proprietary.
Dr. Stephanie Seneff was on the show recently. She's been on the show numerous times. She's a brilliant MIT researcher. She's publishing some amazing studies in the area of glyphosate, vitamin D research, and so on. She only publishes studies in journals that offer what do they call it? Common access or full access, free access. She doesn't even publish her studies in journals that require that you pay for the study. That's how profoundly important it is to her that everyone see the entire body of work supporting her research. This notion that you produce a study, you publish an abstract, and then when people want to see the full text, you go, no, I'm not going to show it to you. All that implies is that you're either lying or your research is flawed, and you don't want anybody to call you on it. That's all that does. It's a shame. And it's a shame that you had to fight that. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back on the other side, we're going to talk about crealkaline more specifically on how it works and why it really should be the one creatine that you take. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
to outlast, outmuscle, and outperform your competition with a high-powered, stimulant-free carbohydrate source that has zero sugars, you want Carbolin. Carbolin is the original high-performance fuel that will allow you to load your muscles with glycogen in minutes instead of hours. As a pre, intra, and post-training supplement, it will give you a hardness and fullness to your muscles like you've never felt before. As an endurance supplement, Carbolin has been proven to increase VO2 max by 2.8%. If you want fast absorption and sustained energy without bloating or cramping, get Carbolin. Go to AAEFX.com today.
Move over, superheroes. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Welcome back to Science for Humans. We're talking about creatine and, more importantly, the only patented buffered form of creatine on the planet, and that's Crealkaline. And we're going to get off that hop that we were on a second ago. I just get very upset. I kind of dragged Dr. Jeff into that. He didn't know that I was going to take that line of discussion, so it's me, not him. But it just upsets me when I see these kind of unfairnesses going on. Okay, so let's talk about why Crealkaline instead of all this other nonsense. So you taught me that the body can only absorb 1.5 grams of creatine every couple hours. Is that correct?
Yeah, obviously it depends on size and activity, but just for a good estimate, about 1.5 grams every 3.5 hours. Anything excess, remember, even creatine that your body produces, and when you spend creatine, the bile waste is creatinine. So if you ingest too much, again, you're just going to end up excreting it out or potentially converting that to excess creatinine. So you don't need a whole lot of it in order to get all the benefits. And keep in mind, Crealkaline is creatine monohydrate. The difference is that it's been stabilized, pH correct creatine. So it isn't some new fancy schmancy,
Now, there are those out there who will say, yeah, Dr. Jeff, but once you put it in the caustic, highly acidic environment of the stomach, all that buffering goes out the window. What would your response be?
Not correct. One of the studies that's going to be published here quite soon is a stomach simulation study that we did showing that, Crealkaline does buffer the stomach. Now, obviously, we don't really know what happens from then on. It's very complex, if not impossible, to figure out any type of creatine, how much is actually being absorbed. But we're working on some studies, very expensive, very high end. A lot of it has to do with radiation tagging in order to really determine that.
Wow, to actually watch where the creatine goes.
Yes.
Wow.
But again, it makes sense that if the creatine is stable when it hits the stomach, you are way ahead than drinking creatinine that, has already been converted.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. If creatine in its raw, unstable form works, then clearly a more stable form will work better. That's easy to deduce.
And part of, my original research showed that, I was the first one to say, you don't need to load Crealkaline. You don't need to cycle it. 1.5 grams, for the average person is all you need per day. So, remember back in the old days, we were telling people to load, take 20, 30 grams. Secret. That was a marketing ploy. There was a little study somewhere published overseas that said, hey, loading, can get things in the system faster. But the marketplace decided, you know what? We can sell more creatine because now somebody's going to burn a bottle up in a week.
Right.
So that was really the whole idea behind that. So, I realized you don't need to. If it's stabilized, you're going to get a benefit, from the very first dose. And it was interesting because we had given out thousands, if not millions of caps of samples before I even sold any. And, people would grab a bottle at a trade show, which was 5 capsules, and would come back the next day and go, my goodness, I've never had a better workout. I can't tell you the thousands of times, I've heard that from a single dose.
Right.
Now, to me, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Now, the first creatine product I ever bought, I estimate now that I look back, was 75% dextrose, and the balance was creatine. What about these creatine products that are kind of kitchen sink products?
What happened was Crealkaline was stood its time. I was the only one that put it in capsule, and made it convenient. Since the revolution has continued, you don't see very many just creatine by itself. Everybody is mixing it with caffeine and taurine and arginine-AKG. It's no longer a creatine product. It's a good product. It could be a pre-workout. It could be a post. But, creatine is now competing. You need to take creatine by itself. And if your product that you're taking has creatine and that creatine isn't good enough to use as a standalone, then I probably wouldn't be taking it. Plus if it's not stable, it's still going to convert. It's interesting because today now a lot of brands are starting to use what I've been saying for years: no bloating, no side effects, no loading. But they have no scientific proof or any studies to support that. It's just all kind of, stolen.
Well, and you know what? Back in the day, guys who pertain to be bodybuilders would take 20 grams a day for 5 days and get on the scale and go, oh my God, I gained 5 pounds and everybody's telling me it's all muscle because creatine goes into the muscle, and that's not true. You get interstitial water development as well. You get subcutaneous water development as well. Creatine just bloats you.
It does. And, women would not use creatine because of that.
Yeah.
Creatine is very popular with
women are so different that way. They don't care about, oh no, it's all muscle. I don't care. I don't want to be heavier.
We know that you can't gain that amount of muscle in a week, let alone a month, it's just not possible. But at the end of the day, it's all about providing something that's safe. As technology moves on, we're always finding better ways of doing things. And at the end of the day, people just have to be able to, like a game, you and I are in a sports bout, you win, I need to be able to go and congratulate you and say, good job.
Right.
But my inner self is going, I'm going to get him next time, but I'm going to work hard. I'm not going to cheat at it. I'm not going to lie and say, oh, Carl cheated. He had elevator sneakers on or something. No, you know what? Give a guy his due. There are lots of great research scientists and lots of great published research. And, we need to be able to congratulate those people because the amount of work that it goes into, and the amount of resources and funding to do so is only to help better the end product, give you something better. Obviously, we're in a business to provide supplements. That's how we make a living. But we're hoping that we're giving you some great value from Crealkaline.
Okay, so Crealkaline, 2 capsules post-workout is all you need, right?
I mostly tell people because they always forget when. I say take it first thing in the morning. Start your morning off with elevating your creatine stores. Post-workout works great for some. Some like it pre. It's really the consistency that you use it every day versus the exact time of day that you take it.
Dr. Jeff, as always, wonderful to have you on the show. Folks, you can go to superhumanradio.com. There's a variety of All-American EFX sports banner ads. You can go to one of those pages and you can order some Crealkaline. I take it post-workout, and it's convenient. It's capsules. I throw them in my mouth. I drink it down. I'm done. That's it.
Absolutely. And if you don't, I always say don't take my word for it. Get a free sample. Hey, go to the site, ask the scientist, say, hey, you heard it here. I want a free sample of Crealkaline. I got plenty, so we aren't going to do where we've only got 48. I got thousands of samples. You want to try it? I want you to try it. So
wow. Now, you know what? And that shows that's an important step because people who don't believe in their products won't give it away for free because they figure you're going to try it once and never buy it. Here, you have a guy who knows if you try it once, you'll buy it. So check
Absolutely.
it out. Go to superhumanradio.com. Down on the bottom right-hand side where it says Ask the Scientist, put the word Crealkaline in the subject line, and make sure you include your mailing address this time.
Yes,
folks,
please do.
It's a lot of work to go back and email everybody back and say, give us your mailing address. So,
and also, because these samples are less weight, I think we can U.S. mail them to all of our overseas listeners. So we will try to accommodate you also.
So there you go. No time limit on this one. If you're listening to the podcast a month later, go to superhumanradio.com. Down at the bottom right-hand corner where it says Ask the Scientist and ask for a free sample of Crealkaline. Make the decision yourself. Dr. Jeff, always wonderful to have you on the show. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
You too.
Okay.